Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How are you, Maria? Licensed therapist, brain injured survivor. What's our one-liners? Welcome to another episode
Yeah,
of
my
TBI
name's
TMI.
welcome. And welcome, Zach, CPA and
What is your
brain
name?
injury survivor.
Yeah.
I think, we both have already
Let's our
jumped
way
on
through
here.
this whole episode.
We already spoke briefly before we got on just to say we both have had kind of anxiety outside of the podcast that maybe is coming in a little to our morning, which I don't think is abnormal with a brain injury. There's, I think, just to jump right into it, so much trying to always do everything right so that you don't feel like all the symptoms of your brain injury or feel super different from neurotypical people. And I was speaking to someone who was like, it's just there's always boxes you're checking. There's just boxes. Like you're always making sure you don't forget stuff. So I don't know if that has anything to do with your anxiety. I know for me, I have a big doctor's appointment back at my rehab medicine at University of Washington where
Yeah. Um, I'm also curious about a little bit more about yours, but I'll give you a quick rundown of mine. Yeah, I am a working CPA. I just opened my own practice in addition to a
right.
full-time employment, and I have a deadline, and I'm learning new complex software that I've been coaching myself through a learning curve and to be patient, but there's a very big mistake right off the bat that I can't fix. That
Mm.
is a mistake on the software provider's side. They think they're fixing it, but they're not. So I've
Oof.
talked to several people who are telling me, "Oh yeah, it'll work when you need it to." And like more and more time is going by and I'm approaching this deadline and
Yeah.
I can't do my job unless somebody else does theirs. And so I'm spending all this time trying to get the right person to tell me what's going on. And I don't really care about something I've learned professionally is like there's not always time for why. And so I just need a solution. I don't care why it's not working. I don't have time for why. Let's just figure this out. And
Yeah.
so, in addition to just learning this software and getting the end result I'm looking for, I'm having to handhold these experts and they can't figure out what's going on. And I have my full-time job and my wedding anniversary is tomorrow and it's my mom's
Mm.
birthday and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's what's on my plate.
I
Why are you
really,
going back to the rehab?
ab-
Oh yeah, I mean, I had an Amazon situation last week where I bought a mouse and they sent me a camera. And then they made returning it really difficult. And then I like finally get somebody on the line and I just want to be like, you guys are wasting so much of my time on this. You fucked up, excuse my language, and you're doing
mm-hmm.
the absolute minimum to make it right. I'm spending like
Right.
hours on a mouse return and they still aren't solving it. So
Yeah.
it just, that's like such a granular example, but I do think it's the kind of triggering event where
Mm.
I think I just will lose focus on like the task at hand because something that should be simple and the mistake is a simple mistake, right? Like I get it. Hey, you shipped the wrong item. But like don't make it impossible to return it and then get the right item. But maybe I feel like I sound crazy. Yeah. Well, I have to poke a little hole in your the person providing you information because I've talked to this brother-in-law in the last couple of weeks and had some very frustrating interactions with him. And honestly, I wonder if maybe we should bring him on as a guest. He had a major brain injury in college.
No, I never knew
I mean,
that.
he got hit in the face, and he has a lot of tendencies that might
Yeah.
be considered neurodivergent. So I wouldn't mind hearing him tell us what to do, and then we can start poking holes at all of his obsessive compulsions. And so I find it hard to believe that someone who penny pinches other people's time is telling you not to save money on gas.
Other
Right.
things,
Congratulations. Right.
but
Yeah.
and
Interesting. Why?
limits
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you have you adapted to this at all, or do you feel like you're still struggling with finding time to exercise and eat in the morning? Are you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and doing this stuff before they even wake up? Yeah.
is
Well,
swimming
good
still
job
your
for
main?
going. Yeah, swimming by far. It depends on the pool availability. Today, I think is kind of I will work for a handful of hours and then I'll go for a swim and then I'll work for a handful of hours more.
The second
Tomorrow I
half
might
of the day.
I wouldn't say that. I think it just prepares me for the second half of the day in a way where I can just manage. Because I do think the afternoon exhaustion is real. It's just, I think I lost you. I'm going to keep talking because we lost Maria. And I'm not sure where Maria went because I'm the one who has the terrible internet connection here. I'm sure we'll get her back. But I was saying, as I talk to myself now,
I'm here.
that I
Can you
do
see
like
me?
to exercise first thing in the morning. I do think it's invigorating, does make it more difficult towards the 3 to 5 p.m. hours for functioning at a high level, being focused. But I do utilize this is so funny. I do utilize a lot of planning and techniques throughout the day just to sort of manage the day. And something that I picked up when I was studying for my CPA exams was really mapping out the plan for the day. And so much of it is about just having a map, which is something my piano teacher Rose used to say is you're developing a map and then you're following a path and you can diverge from that path, but the point is to create the map. And so I do think having like a daily map for the day is useful, and diverging is great and good and not something to like really beat yourself up about, but it's important to, for me at least, to have that kind of map to be guided by. And so we have Maria back. I just talked for 3 minutes to myself. That was fun.
I did come on. I
You
was
probably
on
would have
for
liked
part
what
of
I was
that.
saying because I was talking about developing like a
Part of that about how you have a routine
but I
and
was
like
just
you
saying, I more or less develop a daily map. Yeah. And that, you may diverge from your map, but having the map is a useful tool to manage through day-to-day life.
totally. I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm hesitant to bring up a big topic like cooking because I think that was such a great idea. I think
Well, I thought we were going to talk about drinking
yeah. Well,
because I think that we were both experiencing, I'm on day two of a hangover, which I think is contributing to my anxiety.
right.
And you mentioned that you had anxiety. I mean, I had 2 drinks and a half a glass of wine 2 nights ago for a birthday celebration out to dinner with a good friend, and I still feel a little on edge. And
Yeah,
yesterday,
well,
I was much more on edge. Yeah.
yeah, it just creates
It's just
so much.
putting a drop of dye in the water just changes the whole tint. Oh, yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, most of my friends acknowledge, like, I don't really drink. I think drinking as a child of divorce was a route to friendship and connection when I was in my late teens and 20s. But I really started analyzing it in my early 30s because it was leading to a lot worse behavior. And had a couple incidences where like I just kind of lost my shit with friends, and the hangovers were getting so bad, and just a lot of like really negative self-talk as a result. And then once I had my brain injury, I think maybe I've had like more than 3 drinks like 2 or 3 times, and the hangovers have been just brutal after the fact.
Yeah.
like 2 days long, a lot of negative self-talk, just a
Yeah.
lot of shame. And then, like you said, it just even yeah, even having one drink, it's like I can't really sleep tonight. It's it's
Yeah.
disrupting sleep. It's messing up the next day. The physiological response is negative as well. Is
Yeah.
that similar to what you experience?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll make my wife a cocktail and I lost you again. And I like making her drinks and she'll have a drink once a week maybe and I'll make her like an old fashioned or a Manhattan or we'll take mint and berries from the garden and make a bramble and it's like fun and it tastes good and
For
anything
me,
beyond that I just don't really like it. I also just think it's a poison. So
that's what my
I don't know
dad
what you
used to
heard or
always
didn't
say.
hear.
That's what my dad.
Disappearing ghost co-host.
Yeah.
That it's a poison.
I mean, yeah, he would say that. My dad, I think, because of his own like heart issues, stopped drinking probably like 20 years before he died. Both caffeine and alcohol. And it wasn't like alcoholism
Really?
was an issue for him, but it was more just like for his. I think he knew he had some health issues and it could impact it negatively. But back to
Hmm.
me, I think the things that are similar to you are that those are more recent. Like for me, the first year after my accident, they said absolutely no drinking, and that was fine. And then when I started introducing a little bit of alcohol back, it was pretty moderate. And then there were a few times where I would have, like, not even, again, it would be not that much alcohol, but I would be having a horrible migraine for days. So similar in that regard to what you're saying. But, I had migraines for a lot
Was
of
I causing
hours.
that because I was dragging you out to clubs and parties in New York City?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't even really remember having it at all in New York. Actually,
I don't either.
yeah, I don't really
Even though
remember
I worked
having
for a brand that always had booze around. Remember that? I would have like
at the office.
6 packs and 12 packs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I had a lot of friends who drank and went hard in New York, some who are now sober. And so, but I just don't remember it impacting me. And I think probably because I was so afraid of falling, that was such a big thing with
Yeah.
having had such a severe traumatic brain injury that I was like, I knew I could never fall. And I remember one time being in New York and I was wearing cowboy boots and I like slid. I don't even think I was drinking. My sister caught me, but it was a real like moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, that could have been so bad," because it was a fast slide. But I guess more recently, about 2 years ago, I was at like a wedding and I had probably like 2 or 3 drinks, and that night I did not sleep. And I was
Hmm.
so scared because I've always been told sleep is like the number one most important thing if you have a brain injury. Better than any medicine. It's so important. You won't be able to function. And I felt that when I don't sleep for other reasons, but I never really had like a full night of not sleeping. And so
Hmm.
basically ever since then, I definitely have other things that make me not sleep, like I think caffeine or if I don't exercise. But I think definitely alcohol in any amount is impactful, and I just it's not worth it at all. And I don't know if it's meshed up with perimenopause, but it's such a lonely thing. And I think that too, it's like I was actually thinking about that last night as I laid awake, is like my early recovery from brain injury was so isolating. I was alone. I was alone by myself.
Yeah. When you say alone and it's lonely, like when you're sitting in bed and you can't fall asleep, it feels lonely.
And it's like people are
Yeah.
sleeping in this house, and why am I not sleeping? And I think it really brings up too the thing of there's something really wrong with me, which
Right.
I notice is something that a lot of people with traumatic brain injuries, including myself, sometimes feel like there's something really wrong with me. And so it's like And then I go through, I think that's what keeps me awake, is I'm going through everything that could have potentially be impacting the day and the sleep.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because yeah, you definitely, God, guess I never really called it anything, but that sort of not being able to sleep and frustration at not getting to sleep
Yeah.
is very lonely.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if, I'm guessing that there are people, understandably, who will drink in spite of the brain injury. And it's so prevalent in our day-to-day life. I wonder what you would tell your patients
I mean,
who maybe are struggling with.
there's a very high number. I think it's like 70% or maybe 60. I mean, it's like I could get my handbook out and look, but the amount of people living with brain injuries who suffer from addiction to alcohol is very high. And so I think it's something that we could spend hours, if not days, on.
Days.
Some people, they had their incidents when they were drinking alcohol, and so that can make it much more of a hard thing to get beyond post brain injury. I'm looking for the actual number of, it's a high percentage. Alcohol makes it much harder to just do things, to be the person you want. But I think this new piece that you and I are both talking about, of like, it's very stimulating. So I think, participating in
Right.
things.
Yeah. For depressant to be so stimulating.
Exactly. Well, I'm not getting my exact data point here, which is frustrating, but I would say,
Well, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
getting support from AA, or there's something I'll link below that is for people with traumatic brain injuries who have difficulties with alcohol. But yeah, I think it's very, your brain post traumatic brain injury doesn't have a filter. And so, just like it can make it hard to not say the things you're thinking, I think it can also make it very hard to stop yourself from having, more and more and more cookies, alcohol, sugar, whatever it might be. And so, if it's part of your routine, it probably isn't aiding your recovery from brain injury. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you
I
being so
will
open
say
about it.
that I think I've noticed, yeah, no problem. I mean, I think, we talked a lot about our candy addiction sounds somewhat dramatic, but I do think I have similar experiences of hangover when I'm consuming too much
Right.
candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trouble sleeping for sure, and then kind of just an imbalance of mood the following day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like with yesterday, I think I was feeling very hungover. I had to go to the pharmacy to get batteries. There's a big ass candy aisle at the Walgreens, and guess what I came home with? And then was feeling hungover already, and then ate a bunch of candy. And
Ah,
so, surprise, surprise.
perpetuating the cycle a bit.
Yeah. I did sleep pretty hard though, so that was nice.
Well, I think that's the one great thing too. For some people, it seems like brain injury brains like know how to always find that sleep, make up for that sleep. So it's very rare that I, knock wood, ever have more than one bad night of sleep in a row.
Yeah. I mean, what, it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago where I had like 3 or 4 bad nights in a row because my doggy had
Oh, but
a
that was part of
had
your
a,
dog's diarrhea.
a stomach issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had, 4 or 5 crazy poor nights of sleep and felt really nutty and
Yeah.
unstable and worried I was going to say or do something at work that was going to get me fired. And
Totally.
so,
I mean, I think we're both
so I
agreeing
feel,
that that statement about like sleep is super, super important and you do have to protect it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, you think this is a good stopping point for us?
Yeah.
Or
I
do
do.
you want to keep going?
The
I'm
only
looking
other,
for our.
The only other
Yes.
thing I was going to say is I just think part of what's really important too is like you're saying with the candy or the alcohol or just feeding yourself, what we're putting into our body matters a ton. And I'd really like us to talk more about that.
Yeah,
And I also think
absolutely. On future episodes.
above all else, the negative self talk. You're learning yourself, you're investigating, you're noticing these things. And so be kind to yourself when you do something, quote, wrong, that's not helping your body work at its optimum. You're also, yes, you have a traumatic brain injury, but you're human and it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay.
Well, we're excited to be sharing these conversations with you. We're going to be covering a new topic related to TBIs each week, going over listener submitted calls from real life situations. We'll be releasing episodes every Tuesday, so please subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of these fun and important conversations. The content in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, not professional advice. And we, the hosts, are not liable for how our listeners use this information. If you need more support, please contact a therapist or your medical provider. If you're having suicidal thoughts, please text 988 for support. Thank you, Maria, for your time. Good
Thank you,
luck
Sam.
today.
You too.
We'll be excited to hear the experience of going back. So we'll definitely talk about that next time as well.
Yeah, and good luck to you. I know that software stuff sounds like a real pain in the rear, but you are a very strong
Yeah,
person and you've got a good head.
thank you.
All right,
All right.
toodles.
Have a good one.